All right, welcome in to Carps Corner, new show. Excited about it. The midweek, the mailbag. Listen to some of the Ryan Day's thoughts coming out of the Wisconsin beatdown, looking towards Rutgers 3:30 kick that will be taking place this weekend. Pretty excited for it. Greg Schiano coming to town, coming back. Got some success here. Ryan Day respects him as a coach. They had a great relationship, very coordinated when they were together. And remember this, when Ryan took over for Urban Meyer during his suspension, but Kevin Wilson and Greg Schiano both still on the staff. And both of those guys had been head coaches and successful head coaches at that. And Ryan Day was the one who was chosen to lead it and to be the head guy. But Kevin Wilson helped him immensely. And also Greg Schiano helped him immensely. And because of that, I think there's a lot of respect and deference paid to a guy who helped you out and a guy who knows how to coach the ball, who knows how to coach football rather. But we're going to sit here, we're going to listen to some of the things Ryan Day ultimately had to say this week. And we'll start off with this when he starts talking about CJ Stroud and his improvement and what he ultimately can do. Let's take a listen.
I thought he played well. I thought he was efficient. I thought he made some really good throws. But like everybody, there's always things that you got to grow on. You got to get better at. He knows that. And that's unlike any game. I think people ask, what can he get better at? And everything. I say that after this week. I said it at the beginning of the week. I said it last year. And if he was here for another 3 years, I'd say the same thing. I mean, every week you got to get better. He's not, like you said, he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So, and don't expect him to be. Don't want him to play that way. Certainly don't want the guys ever thinking they have to be perfect. I want them to play and trust their eyes and trust their instincts. So still a lot to learn from, a lot to grow from, but you can see his progress has been strong and as he's building and getting better.
So you hear right there. I mean, people talk about CJ playing a perfect game. Ryan's never going to sit there and admit that he played a perfect game. Yeah, he did some things well, but there's always some throws you can make better. There's always progress you can make during the week. There's always things you can work on. No player has ever played a perfect game. Even when quarterbacks have, nearly perfect QBRs or quarterback ratings, it doesn't matter. There's always things you can improve upon, whether it's footwork, whether it's technique, whether it's field vision. The throw could have been a little more accurate. Maybe your guy made a great play for you. So there's always things that you can ultimately do to improve upon where you're at. And listen, as good as CJ is, Ryan knows you got to keep pushing, you got to keep driving, you got to get him where he ultimately needs to be. Now, we'll listen to this talking about the tight end room, getting better, working with the quarterbacks, and the improvement that they're making. Let's take a listen.
No, it's about what we see in practice, about what we expected, but proud of the way they played, and I know they still feel like there's a lot of meat on the bone, but the chemistry is being built, and there's been some production obviously in that room, and also in the tight end room.
It's great. I mean, you talk about the route running, the cohesion within the unit, the fact that they're working with CJ, they're getting better with him. Like, you can feel all those things together, what Cade's been doing, how he's been improving. And that's big. And that's big stuff. And you saw it. You saw the success that tight end room is having and the connection that Cade has obviously with CJ and the confidence that he has there, getting Mitch Rossi involved, getting G. Scott involved as well. There's a lot of guys contributing and a lot of people helping out, which makes you feel really good if you're a head coach, because you see everybody all in linear thought, working and trying to be the very best that they ultimately can. Now, two guys who made a big impact on the game, Brown and Johnson, Jair Brown, J.K. Johnson, two guys who are fourth and fifth corners who came to play and played in a big way. And the confidence they had, and also the confidence their team had in them. Ryan Day talks about the performance they put out there and what they were able to do.
I'll give a lot of credit to Tim Walton and Jim for getting those guys ready, and then for Jair and JK to step up the way they did. Very proud of them. But I think it goes to show you these guys both practiced all spring, all preseason. I don't think they missed a practice between the two of them. And when you're going every day and you're practicing, the only way to get better is to practice, and they did. And so when we went to put them in the game, the whole team believed in them because they saw it in practice. We knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but they played very well, and they're both very talented. You can see it out there when they stepped into it. And so now they got that first start under their belt in the huge environment. So now hopefully they can find the speed of the game. And I think about the first start for a lot of guys. It's hectic. It's a lot of emotion. It's crazy. It's exhausting. But now they can move on, get that past them, and focus on getting better.
young players getting better. That's what you want to hear. And you hear talk about, Knowles, Tim, Perry, getting them ready and the confidence that their teammates have in them. Where did that confidence come from? Ryan Day talked about it. The confidence in their ability to play from their teammates and even their coaches comes from the repetition in practice. It comes from their teammates seeing them show up every day, work hard, continuously improving, and them not making the same mistakes again. Them continuing to get better, making plays in practice. Because here's the reality of it. If you're playing defensive back at Ohio State and you're the fourth or fifth corner, you're still working against some of the best wide receivers in the country. We saw it. You saw Xavier Johnson catch touchdown passes. You saw Jalen Ballard make big plays. And then you get matched up against Jackson Smith-Njigba, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, all these guys. Like, you're going to get the work. So if you can do it against them, your teammates are going to see, hey, we know these guys are better than what they've got. And they saw that, and you see that confidence coming out there. Now, some rough stuff here. Jackson Smith-Njigba still not able to play. Kind of how he's being evaluated and when he's going to be able to go.
Yeah, it's the medical staff in Jackson. We always refer to the trainers and to the doctors, and then get the feedback from the player. And we try to do the best we can to keep him as safe as we can in those moments, and we'll continue to do that.
It's good. You hear him talking. The med staff and him are going to make that decision. Him being Jackson, they're going to sit down. They figured out when you're ready to go, especially get some soft tissue stuff, making sure that he's feeling good, he's in a good spot, and he's confident in his body to be able to get out there. And frankly, there's no reason to rush him back at this point. Like, rushing him back for what? For Rutgers? I mean, if you want to score 77, you score 77. The Blitnikoff's out of the picture now. He doesn't have enough, numbers from playing enough games. And so you just want to make sure you have good film for next year and you're winning the games you need to win. And so what's next for Jackson?
I just think that it's a long season. And like you're mentioning, I don't think we want to move forward until, we all feel really good about everything. But again, Jackson's, still has a mindset of day to day, and, we're not going to put any kind of timetable on it. And just, he and the training staff are going to work hard. I know he's frustrated. We're not as far away as we think. And if he just has the mindset of showing up every day and getting as much treatment as he can and taking care of his body, this will be behind us soon. And we still got a lot of football to play.
Day to day. And Ryan's talking about it. He's working. He's trying to get back. He's day to day. You feel like he's closer to getting back than he was from being injured. That's good. That means he's moving in the right direction. Progress is being made. And for any coach, that's really all you want to see. And your teammates want to see you out there being able to go out, get healthy, and ultimately make some plays. And then lastly, this is what's key. Asked about all the touchdowns in the red zone. And this was something you remember back to that first Clemson game in the college football playoff. They got down there a bunch and struggled in the red zone. Some of the players not making plays, but then, I think you could add more creativity. Next year against Clemson, boom, touchdowns galore in the red zone. Ryan Day solved the problem, and the red zone offense has been really good ever since. Talks about the secret as to why.
I think we've run the ball well down there. We've been efficient, but then, I think CJ's throwing and catching and the receivers have been pretty good. I mean, you think about the Toledo game and some of those catches that Marvin made and tiptoeing on the sideline in the back of the end zone, the one that Julian caught in the end zone, and then even the one that he threw to Emeka there. I mean, those were tight windows, but that's playing quarterback at a high level in the red zone. Nobody's open. Maybe Cade was on that one, but that's rare. So I think that the protection's been good. I think the quarterback play has been excellent, and we're running the ball.
Well, you heard it. I mean, some tight window throws by the quarterback, but really running the football well. That was the key. It's what he led with, running the football well, and then CJ being able to sit back there and pick them apart. Guys making plays in the red zone, in the end zone, converting those to touchdowns when the defense is all closer, it's all compressed, the decisions happen that much faster, and you have to be that much more accurate. And you're going to have extra defenders because there's no deep field to play, so there's going to be more doubles, smaller windows, and the run game fills up that much quicker. And so that is some good stuff when we start looking at the red zone, because you got to get 7 against the good teams to ultimately get wins. All right, well, it's time for our weekly mailbag. Always happens on Wednesday. Get the chance to answer all of your questions. What am I seeing in practice, Buckeye games, upcoming games, as far as what we have seen, what we will see this week against Rutgers, And like I said, wrapping up anything unbuttoned stuff from obviously that big Wisconsin win. Oh, goodness. Question. We signed Paris Johnson Jr., thought that he'd be a 3-year starter at left tackle. One of the many reasons we have a new O-line coach. You agree, Bobby? Well, Paris Johnson Jr. has played really well. If you look at him in the run and pass game, he's been incredibly solid. Started out at guard last season, moved him back outside. Obviously, with the departure of Nicholas Petit-Ferrer and Thayer Mumford, those guys are out of there, so they can shift people around a little bit and get him to his more natural position of playing left tackle. But you see the athleticism. I watch him battle Jack Sawyer. I watch him battle Zach Harrison, JT Tuimoloau out in practice. Like, he does a great job. Paris Johnson Jr. has been absolutely fantastic, and he's a big reason why. He's a unique dude, different guy, wears some crazy outfits, some wild shorts for being as big as he is, but really, really talented player. And I think Justin Fry and him have really connected. And I think he's done a really good job coaching him, as you've seen on the field this year. Next question, also about the O-line. What tools does an O-lineman use or learn throughout the season to prepare them for their toughest tests? For example, how much does the O-line gain from playing Toledo, Wisconsin, and so on prior to playing a D-line like Michigan, then hopefully Bama, Georgia, and how to handle them? Well, Wisconsin was supposed to be really good. Historically, they have really good defensive linemen. They're really tough. They're physical up front. They usually have some first and second rounders up in their front seven, whether it's outside linebackers who rush a lot, inside linebackers who rush a lot, some ends, some tackles. Like, they have those dudes. They didn't apparently this year. Herbig was supposed to be that guy, but from talking to some of those guys, that they thought they kind of paled in comparison to Notre Dame. Like, Foskey was far better than Herbig was. And like, this guy's supposed to be an All-American. So it's all about, Ryan Day talks about trusting the process, like getting better. It's like receivers going against corners. Yeah, you can beat them possibly if they're not as good as you with just raw athleticism. And you're bigger and you're faster at offensive line. You can just lean on guys. But are you utilizing the proper technique? Are you making sure you're bending your knees? Are you passing things off? Are you getting sloppy? That's what coaches, they'll get on them. They'll grade them just as hard going against guys, like the Toledo and Arkansas State, as you do against normally Wisconsin and Notre Dame and Iowa and Michigan, because they know if you try to utilize that technique against a stronger opponent, it'll come back to get you. And so that's why those bigger games, you see guys are amped up. There's a bigger emphasis on technique. They know they have to perform better, but also, like, they get it. They understand, like, you can lean on them, but in a lesser competition, but it will come back to bite you. The old adage, it doesn't catch up with you until it catches up with you. And that's usually when it does, is in those big games, if you've been kind of easing through it and not working all year. So continue to work to get better, and you're good. Has Tommy Eichenberg elevated his draft stock the most this season thus far? Also throwing in Cade Stover, Mayan Williams, or is it someone else over Tommy? Cade Stover's played incredibly well. I've been incredibly impressed with him. Flipping over from defense to offense, played some linebacker, played some tight end, played linebacker again, played defensive end, the jack position in the spring. Now I finally got planted. I said this about Cade Stover. He was like a plant that you love, that you've tried to find a bunch of places in the yard. And, it looks okay there. It looks good there, but it's not really thriving. And there's maybe other plants that would do better. And all of a sudden you get this place like, it seems like it kind of fits. And then you plant this thing and it grows and it's beautiful and it looks fantastic and it thrives. I mean, that has been Cade Stover, tight end. Cade Stover is an NFL tight end. And if he stays healthy, he's a guy that'll play 10 years in the NFL. He can be I don't know if he can be like a pure number one elite receiver, but dude, he's a really good receiver. He's got good vertical speed. He's fast. He's big. He's a nasty blocker, and you can play him on special teams. And so because of that, he'll play a long time in the NFL. Dude is a football player. And you see him with the ball in his hands. I mean, he'll start running screens and some stuff like that with him. Cade played running back in high school. It's Mr. Football, for heaven's sake. So, Cade brings a lot to the table. He's elevated a lot. His roommate, Tommy Eichenberg, has been tremendous. Tommy's been all over the place. I don't know if there's a guy who you could look at and see his production year over year through 4 games, just shoot through the roof. But I'm not even concerned about that. When I watch the film, I see a different dude when I'm watching Tommy Eichenberg this year. I'm watching a different dude when I watch Steel Chambers Cody Simon, like all those linebackers are playing significantly better football this year than they did last year. And you throw Mayan Williams in there. Mayan's playing great. He just needed more reps. He needed more time with the football. And so he's been able to get that now. And running backs are kind of unique and weird. It's tough to always say, if you elevated this, you're doing that, because, it's almost, you don't want to run the ball too much to get too many miles. But Mayan's played great thus far this year. I think he has helped himself a lot. A lot of guys have on this team. I think Josh Proctor's another guy, started off the season a little slow, but he's continuing to build and continuing to get better and better and better. So there's been a handful of guys that we've seen do that. And there's guys even that aren't draft eligible, I think, really up their stock just by how well they're playing. But we'll get into that, later. Like this question, most underrated game day tradition in Columbus. I love the skull session. Skull session's a great deal. And I didn't grow up going to Ohio State games. I remember, we started going in there, and it's like, your freshman year, you don't really know, but you're just blown away with, the passion, the band. It's packed St. John Arena for those, for those huge games. There's 10,000 people in there. It's remarkable. And it's something that really blows you away. And so I love it. I love the skull walking out there on the night games, being able to see all the fans out there tailgating during the day. It's 5-6 rows deep. People want to see you. They'll give you high fives. I absolutely love that. And then, probably my other one, and they both involve the band, seeing Carmen, Ohio after the game. And, I posted on my channel here, Jim Trussell talking about it, how they're going to sing before or after every game to the band, hopefully in more wins than losses. Because if it's losses, someone else would be doing it. But going down there, showing your respect, getting to sing Carmen, Ohio at the end, locked up arm in arm with your brothers and your coaches, is a pretty cool experience. Would you consider moving Jack Sawyer, that is, to defensive end and Curry to the quote Jack position and see what kind of combo they can have in third down? Caden Curry's going to get on the field more. Caden Curry is a football player. Jack does a great job with his athleticism, wrapping around, dropping in coverage, moving around. But if you could get him maybe just in a pure rush situation, he might be a little more productive. I think that could be better for him. But that's also going to be on Caden Curry to continue to elevate. And it really comes down to what else you have out there. But I think that that's something that you could see. Jack's still a young player. He's got a lot of time to move around and put him in different positions. Putting him right there beside JT Tuimoloau, and then maybe you have Caden Curry off the ball. And there's some other guys they're bringing in as well that you could potentially see do that. So I think that there is an element of that. And unfortunately, due to injuries, Mitchell Melton wasn't able to help and do that this year. But I think that's something that he could slide into as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to be able to do that and move guys around. But you got to remember, it's the first year of the defense. So these things are going to be organic. They're going to be ebbing and flowing, obviously, as they evolve. Bigger difference in this year's team versus the 2014, or biggest difference between this year's team and the 2014 national championship team. The 2014 national championship team, they had first rounders all over the place. And I think this year you could have that, but I don't know if you knew you had those stars coming in. And a lot of those guys were sophomores, so you knew you were going to get them all back. And so that was maybe a little bit of a difference. And that team was a little bit almost like a team of destiny after they lost that game against Virginia Tech, week 2 of the season, I believe. Everyone wrote them off, and they just kept getting better and better and better. So they've started fast at Ohio State. Ryan does a good job with that. And so I'll need to see the whole evolution. Obviously, when you have Zeke Elliott back there, he's tough to match up against. Guy was number 4 pick in the draft and has had a heck of an NFL career thus far. Having the Bosa's out there, guys like that. It was a pretty special group, but I think this team has a chance if they stay healthy. And that's the other thing. That team stayed healthy outside of obviously the injuries at quarterback. All the other positions were pretty healthy for the most part. And then lastly, who do I think is the MVP of the defense so far this year? Easy answer is Tommy Eichenberg. You could throw Mike Hall into it too. He's been fantastic when he's been going up front and he's been healthy. So both of those guys, and I would even pull in Steele Chambers because he's been good. Steele's versatility allows Tommy to have a lot of production. And so I love that. That was Steele. I kind of see a lot more playing and doing stuff that I had to do, moving up on the line, moving to the edge, playing off the ball, playing some man. You ask him to do a lot of stuff. And so in doing that, that frees up Tommy to be a tackling machine and highly productive. So the ability of have those guys be different types of players is massive, and that's fantastic. So that's it. Hey, thanks for this edition of Carps Corner. Like, subscribe, comment on it, share with your friends. We're going to continue to grow this. I know it's only Rutgers this week, but man, it's going to be exciting as we continue to plow through the Big Ten. Hopefully, Big Ten Championship, CFP, and hopefully we'll end up this year with the Natty. Go Bucks.